Class 2 rating, in the context of medical devices and under the International Medical Device Regulators Forum classification system, indicates medical devices that pose a moderate risk to patients and users. These devices have the potential for causing injury or illness if not used properly. They are often intended for use in major surgical procedures or situations where failure could result in serious injury or disability. Examples of Class 2 medical devices include surgical implants like pacemakers, joint replacements, and artificial valves. Diagnostic ultrasound systems also fall under this category, as do respiratory devices such as ventilators and oxygen concentrators. Because of the potential risks associated with Class 2 medical devices, they are subject to several regulatory requirements. Firstly, design and performance testing is crucial to ensure the device functions as intended and meets safety standards. Secondly, risk assessment and management are necessary to identify and mitigate potential hazards associated with the device's use. Thirdly, quality system compliance is essential to maintain consistent manufacturing processes and product quality. Fourthly, post-market surveillance and reporting are required to monitor the device's performance in real-world settings and address any emerging safety concerns. The classification of a medical device as Class 2 is based on a thorough risk assessment. This assessment considers several factors, including firstly, the intended use of the device and the target population it is designed for. Secondly, potential hazards and risks associated with its use are carefully evaluated. Thirdly, the technological characteristics of the device are taken into account. Fourthly, clinical data, if available, is reviewed to assess the device's safety and effectiveness. Regulatory bodies play a critical role in classifying and regulating Class 2 medical devices. These bodies include the US Food and Drug Administration, the European Commission, and other national regulatory agencies around the world. Each agency has its own specific requirements and procedures for evaluating and approving medical devices, but they all share the common goal of ensuring patient safety. To further elaborate on the regulatory requirements, design and performance testing involves rigorous evaluation of the device's functionality, reliability, and safety under various conditions. This testing may include bench testing, simulated use testing, and clinical trials. Risk assessment and management involve identifying potential hazards associated with the device's design, manufacturing, and use. This process includes evaluating the likelihood and severity of each hazard and implementing measures to mitigate or eliminate the risks. Quality system compliance requires manufacturers to establish and maintain a quality management system that meets the requirements of relevant standards, such as ISO 13485. This system ensures that the device is consistently manufactured to meet quality standards and regulatory requirements. Post-market surveillance and reporting involve monitoring the device's performance in real-world settings and collecting data on adverse events or device failures. This information is used to identify potential safety concerns and implement corrective actions. The classification of a medical device is not always straightforward and can be influenced by several factors. For instance, a device with a novel technology or a new intended use may require more extensive review and evaluation. Similarly, a device with a history of safety concerns or adverse events may be subject to more stringent regulatory requirements. Manufacturers of Class 2 medical devices must carefully navigate the regulatory landscape and comply with all applicable requirements. This includes submitting pre-market notifications or applications to regulatory agencies, undergoing inspections of manufacturing facilities, and maintaining accurate records of device performance and safety. Failure to comply with these requirements can result in regulatory action, such as warning letters, product recalls, or even criminal penalties. In addition to the regulatory requirements, manufacturers must also consider ethical considerations when developing and marketing Class 2 medical devices. This includes ensuring that the device is safe and effective for the intended use, providing adequate training and information to users, and being transparent about the risks and benefits of the device. It's important to remember that the Class 2 designation signifies a moderate risk, but it does not mean that the device is inherently unsafe. It simply means that there are potential risks associated with its use that must be carefully managed. With proper design, manufacturing, and regulatory oversight, Class II medical devices can provide significant benefits to patients and improve their quality of life. The classification of medical devices can vary slightly between different regulatory bodies. For example, the FDA in the United States uses a three-class system: Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3, while the European Union uses a different system with classes I, E, U, and Roman III. However, the underlying principles of risk assessment and regulatory oversight are similar across these different systems. Medical device manufacturers need to be aware of the specific requirements of each regulatory body in the countries where they intend to market their products. This may involve conducting additional testing, submitting additional documentation, or modifying the device's design to meet local requirements. The regulatory landscape for medical devices is constantly evolving, with new regulations and standards being introduced on a regular basis. Manufacturers need to stay informed about these changes and adapt their processes and procedures accordingly. This may involve attending industry conferences, participating in regulatory working groups, or consulting with regulatory experts. In summary, the Class II rating for medical devices signifies a moderate risk to patients and users. These devices are subject to a range of regulatory requirements, including design and performance testing, risk assessment and management, quality system compliance, and post-market surveillance and reporting. The classification of a device as Class II is based on a comprehensive risk assessment that considers the device's intended use, potential hazards, technological characteristics, and clinical data. Regulatory bodies such as the FDA and EC play a crucial role in overseeing the safety and effectiveness of Class II medical devices. Understanding the Class II rating and the associated regulatory requirements is essential for medical device manufacturers to ensure that their products meet the highest standards of safety and quality. The IMDRF, or International Medical Device Regulators Forum, plays a significant role in promoting global harmonization of medical device regulations. It is a voluntary group of medical device regulators from around the world who work together to develop common approaches to medical device regulation. The IMDRF classification system is used by many countries as a basis for their own national classification systems. This helps to ensure consistency in the regulation of medical devices across different countries and facilitates international trade in medical devices. In addition to the regulatory requirements mentioned earlier, Class II medical devices may also be subject to specific labeling requirements. These requirements may specify the information that must be included on the device's label, such as the device's intended use, contraindications, warnings, and precautions. The labeling must be clear, accurate, and easy to understand for both healthcare professionals and patients. Class II medical devices may also be subject to specific requirements for sterilization or disinfection. This is particularly important for devices that come into contact with patients' bodies or sterile environments. The sterilization or disinfection process must be validated to ensure that it is effective in killing or removing microorganisms that could cause infection. Another important aspect of regulating Class II medical devices is the management of adverse events. An adverse event is any undesirable experience associated with the use of a medical device. This could include device malfunction, injury to a patient, or even death. Manufacturers are required to report adverse events to regulatory agencies so that they can be investigated and addressed. The information gathered from adverse event reports can be used to identify potential safety concerns and improve the design or manufacturing of medical devices. Class II medical devices can range from relatively simple devices to more complex systems. The complexity of the device can affect the level of regulatory scrutiny it receives. More complex devices may require more extensive testing and documentation to demonstrate their safety and effectiveness. The classification of a medical device can also be influenced by the availability of predicate devices. A predicate device is a similar device that has already been approved by a regulatory agency. If a new device is substantially equivalent to a predicate device, it may be able to be approved more quickly and with less extensive testing. However, if a new device is significantly different from predicate devices, it may be subject to more rigorous review. It's important to note that the Class 2 rating is just one aspect of medical device regulation. Other factors, such as the device's specific design, intended use, and manufacturing process, also play a role in determining the regulatory requirements. Manufacturers need to consider all of these factors when developing and marketing Class 2 medical devices. The regulatory process for medical devices can be complex and time-consuming. Manufacturers need to have a thorough understanding of the regulatory requirements and be prepared to invest the necessary resources to comply with them. This may involve hiring regulatory experts, conducting extensive testing, and preparing detailed documentation. The benefits of complying with medical device regulations are significant. By ensuring that their devices are safe and effective, manufacturers can protect patients from harm and build trust with healthcare professionals and the public. This can lead to increased sales, improved brand reputation, and long-term success. The Class 2 rating is a critical component of the medical device regulatory framework. It provides a framework for assessing the risks associated with medical devices and ensuring that they are subject to appropriate regulatory controls. By understanding the Class 2 rating and the associated regulatory requirements, manufacturers can play a vital role in ensuring the safety and effectiveness of medical devices.